I'm just moving on. It's a related area. Voluntary work is about making sacrifices. You sacrifice, your personal time, material wealth, your social life, for instance, and you give up on comforts. And most of these people doing this for you don't do this to sort of polish up their CVs, for instance. How do you nurture and foster such a culture of voluntarism? Are there certain things the organization does consciously to sort of build this culture?
Actually, it's very difficult now to run this organization completely on a voluntary basis. I mean, we have a full-time paid staff of around 2,000 for the whole organization, the family of different organizations. Now, of course, there are also part-time and full-time volunteers. They are connected to the main organization through this paid full-time staff. And at the same time, the level of skills you require now, and also for the same reasons that you have been questioning me, showing the results and maintaining standards and all that, require people who are qualified, and they are all not going to be, even though they are service oriented, they can't rough out. And I don't expect people to just give up their comforts fully and join Sarvodaya. No, I think you can make a balance. Now, I made certain sacrifices, but I also don't want to sacrifice everything for my children and continue in an organization which is for social service. I think when professionally managed, you can create a middle ground where you will have the spirit of voluntarism intact. At the same time, you can be a professional.
How do you create this middle ground? This is something that the corporate CEOs in anywhere in the world are grappling with. Nobody wants to go and pay the top dollar to attract the best people. You want to be in the middle. You want to inspire people.
Yes.
You want your organization to have that culture that attracts and retains extremely talented people when you are paying them, when their financial rewards are not necessarily the top in the industry. How do you find that middle?
As long as you can give them a decent salary that will meet their basic needs, there are other things that are very fulfilling. Now, there are colleagues in our organization who came from the private sector, who sometimes sacrificed in terms of their benefits to come. But they are gaining a lot in terms of they are looking for something else in their lives. So you have to find that kind of personalities who are looking for fulfillment in life, but at the same time who can't be total volunteers. And there are people like that. And also we can tap, even in the corporate sector, although I don't belong to the corporate sector, I interact quite a lot. I see people who are of a different class now in this country. I'm sure there are many in this audience who have opted to be in this country, even though I think some of these young individuals who have lot of opportunities abroad, who have come and they may be in the private sector, but they have spirit of service. They are here in this country because they want to contribute to the country.
If you could go back 10 years or to the time that you took the leadership mantle, with the benefit of hindsight, do you think you would have done things differently? Anything that you could think, or what are the big things that you would have done differently?
I would have devoted little bit more time on generating internal resources and generating resources from within the country. Unfortunately, most of our organizations in Sri Lanka, which are in the non-governmental service sector, are dependent on external funding, and they are foreign funding. We have not been able to effectively mobilize local resources. I think there's a lot of interest, a lot of philanthropy within the country we have not been able to tap. So I think I would have spent more time on doing that, and also probably trying to bring together this in your corporate world you have something called group company management kind of techniques. Now we have independent organizations, legal independent, managed by different boards, but specialized in different activities, but we have not had a coherence in certain areas. So I would have devoted much more time in bringing these even accountability standards of the group rather than individual organizations. So those were some of the things looking back that I would have done, and we are now, of course, it's never too late. We are attending to those now.
Globally, you see this philanthropic angle that's now coming into the private sector. You see the headline grabbing stand. No, I'm talking about something greater here. You see the headline grabbing standard bearers of this, be it Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, who want to give away a large portion of their wealth either in their lifetime or immediately afterwards. And this is a concept that is going way beyond this CSR fad that pretty much everybody dabbles in. Do you think this is something that hasn't emerged in Sri Lanka? You are probably out there trying to raise funds. Are Sri Lankan companies different to what you see and hear about the international scene?
I must say that there is a different corporate philanthropic culture here in Sri Lanka. I haven't seen that philanthropic orientation as you see in some of the other countries like Philippines, India for example. Now some of the Indian top companies have social institutions, their own foundations, which we don't have in Sri Lanka. So that's now they are also not connected to their industry. They are independent institutions. If you take for example Tata Research Institute, now it's a totally independent institute endowed by the Tata's the main company. But it's totally run as a professional organization, and also there are many foundations which are supporting that. We have not seen that in Sri Lanka.
What do you think is preventing this sort of a thing from happening? Like you said, the Tata Research Institute or the Tata Institute of Social Sciences are things that are far have a huge impact on society because of the sorts of work they do, and this is coming from a country that is as poor as Sri Lanka is.
But I think in Indian case again probably there is a different context there. You don't get the extreme poverty that you see in India in Sri Lanka. It has come down. The ultra poor in Sri Lanka, that percentage has declined over the years. But in the case of, I think Indian companies, they could clearly see their labor, the people who work in their factories, the shanties from which these people come. I mean, it's sheer poverty. So probably the guilt feeling of the company owners was much greater in India because they see it every day. In Sri Lanka, probably our rich people don't see that level of poverty readily, and therefore probably not motivated in the same way.
Isn't this your organization's challenge now, when poverty is declining, and then if we do reach our Millennium Development Goal by 2015 of halving poverty, which it looks like we could achieve perhaps now with 8% growth, how do you sort of adapt and define your organization for the future?
Certainly, I think some of the things that we have been doing traditionally, we should not be doing. Let the systems take care of them. Now you saw some of the water supply schemes. When we started rural water supply schemes, the coverage of clean water supply in the rural areas was less than 40%. Now it has increased up to 70%. And there are government schemes. All we have to do is empower the community to get the services from the government. We don't have to do that. But there are areas where you really get extreme poverty in Sri Lanka. Now, though we are a so-called middle income country, I think we are only statistically middle income. If you look at the disparities, it's clear some areas have not developed at all. Some of the pockets of poverty that you see in the south, and particularly in the north and the east, huge challenge. So we won't be able to achieve the Millennium Development Goals for the entire country if you look at the disaggregated data. So I think there's a challenge, and we have a role to play. Our role is not to just now again raise funds and resources and go and serve the underserved areas. No, get the system to serve those areas now, because we can't, while of course we will still do for the next 5 to probably 8 years, particularly in north and east, They need all the resources that we can mobilize. I am not saying that we don't need donations. We need. But what is more important is to hold the structures which are supposed to be serving the poor to serve the poor.
What do you think about this, the model that was pioneered, for instance, by this Indian microfinance institution that went public and sold shares? So some of the stalwarts in the in charity, like for instance Professor Muhammad Yunus was quick to condemn it as being inconsistent with the values of charity, of voluntarism. What do you think?
No, I don't know this particular example. I don't know whether it was public in terms of shares
listed in the stock market.
Stock market, yes.
Shares offered to the public.
Yes. So if you ask me if our seeds will be put into stock market, I don't know. I have to think it through, and probably not.
Why not?
Because of the very unique nature of its own operation, because it's not just now stock market, you put money, whoever buys shares with a return. I mean, you want to make a profit, then you can argue, okay, that's fine, as long as you are also serving the poor, right? Now the thing is, in our case, it is not just the microfinance component, there is a social component integrated to it. So that is the difference. So there we can't totally separate the process. So I have to think, sure. But I won't totally rule it out, because even some of the including our printing press, we at one point we wanted to put it to the under the stock market. Now I think it's not. I won't rule it out. I won't condemn it the way that probably others would have condemned. We would certainly seriously look at that option.
This is a little bit different. I'm going to put 10 phrases or words to you. I want you to give me a quick response. Whatever comes to mind, I want you to tell it to me. Okay, this is just one sentence. Number one, what keeps you awake at night?
Hope.
Okay. Who influenced you the most?
Gandhi.
Family.
My father.
Political culture in Sri Lanka.
Disgusting.
A secular Sri Lanka state. Sri Lankan state.
I would very much look forward to that.
Government policy towards NGOs and charities.
Very suppressive.
Can you be spiritual yet not religious?
Very much so.
Retirement.
Never.
Sri Lanka as an Asian powerhouse.
Dream.
Sarvodaya without an Ariyarathne.
Very possible.